What's going on, everybody? Brett here, coming back at you with another 3v3 in Total War Warhammer 2. I'm going to be playing as Grimgor Ironhide for the Greenskins. And once again, this was another game with very small funds, so you'll see some pretty unique armies in this battle. Two of the players are some of the same players from our previous games, the Tomb Kings and Dreadfleet player. And some of our allies as well, but we were switching up races from the previous matches, but they were really stuck on some of these builds and trying to optimize them. So we're going to see some similar units, but also some new units that I hope you guys enjoy watching us attempt to demolish. So let's actually pause it for a second, because this is a pretty artillery heavy battle, and if I don't pause it, we're going to miss some pretty sweet explosions. So let me go over my army very quickly. Black Orcs here in the front line. Immunopsychology, armor piercing. These guys are the baddest in the Orc lineup. For the center of my formation, the 8-peak loonies, the Unbreakable Regiment of Renown, Night Goblin Fanatics, and they can toss their little fanatic guys out to do some heavy armor piercing damage as well. So more Night Goblin Fanatics out on the flanks. My ranged corps consists of just basic Goblin Archers and one Night Goblin Archer, which does give poison damage. So you poison one enemy and then you put all of your fire, just shoot through sheer volume of fire. You'll get a lot of damage with these Goblin Archers. Some standard Orc boys in the back, just some extra chaff units. They have a bit of a harder punch than the Night Goblin Fanatics, but they do lack that poison, as well as silver shields. The Goblin Rocklobber, I never like to leave home without an artillery piece. So a 600 gold artillery piece against some of the very expensive infantry units of our enemies should be able to net me quite a bit of value this game. I also took a Goblin Big Boss as kind of a backup hero unit and paired him with the Moonhowlers. So we're going to be looking at some point to get up and around and into the back line of our enemy and shut down some of their artillery pieces and ranged units. The Moonhowlers, I think, have been changed. Now, I could be wrong here, but I could have sworn these guys had a physical resistance of 20%. I know they caused fear, but I think they had their physical resistance removed. So I was somewhat disappointed after getting into battle with these guys and noticing that their physical resistance was missing. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. Forest Goblin Spider Riders here, I have them Vanguard deployed and hidden in the forest. These are ranged units, skirmisher cav, so to speak, but with poison. So they can kite most other cavalry units that aren't quite as fast as them. I was expecting the Wood Elf player to perhaps bring Wild Riders or Glade Riders, something like that, and to need to skirmish. Grimgor, of course, brought the wall on this bad boy, as well as stand your ground. So I'm going to be able to give my troops, really everyone on the entire map, a good charge bonus, melee attack bonus, and in a circumference around him, we'll be able to give melee defense as well as leadership. So our ally Empire player stripped down General of the Empire on a Barded Steed. I like that choice, very cheap. He also decided to take Empire Knights as well as Reichsguard. So shot cavalry for us, and the Reichsguard, you can tell the difference at a distance because the Reichsguard have kind of a red color to their lances here. So if they get mixed up and you can't tell what's what, that's how you can tell. But here is the piece de resistance of his army, the Sunmaker. So an incredibly powerful, long-ranged, 480 ranged artillery unit. The Sunmaker, it says here it only has 8 ammunition, but when you watch it fire, it feels like it has a heck of a lot more shots than that. 823 missile damage. They have been buffed. I think they've had their range increased as well as their accuracy. So, and then this being the Regiment of Renown, it's even more accurate. And its rate of fire is so much greater than even the basic Hellstorm rocket battery. So these two should do excellent work against units like the Tomb Kings, as well as Dryads, who do have weaknesses to fire. And speaking of weaknesses to fire, our Dwarven ally here took the Iron Drakes. We can go ahead and slow-mo it just a little bit. Iron Drakes here, fire damage, range of 80, and they have a nice hill position here overlooking their Longbeard front line. So a lot of Longbeards. I can't say I blame the Dwarf player. Took a standard Lord with just the Star Metal Plate effect, a -9 melee attack aura around him. but the Longbeards are probably one of the most cost-effective infantry units in the game. I think they're only 600 gold for 100 in armor, for bronze shields, nearly unbreakable leadership, and encouragement bonus, magic resistance. I mean, and their melee stats are just all around solid. 30 melee attack, 48 melee defense, 32 weapon strength. The only thing they can't do is charge, and they do themselves have charge defense against large. So excellent front line, and they're going to be protecting these Iron Drakes as well as these Rangers with great weapons, better armor piercing, and if they get into melee, they do have better melee stats and armor piercing values than standard ranged units. Dragonback Slayers here. Yeah, and the Sunmaker's going off. It's going to be doing its work in the background while we continue to go over these armies. The Dragonback Slayers, the Regiment of Renown Standard Slayers, they do have physical resistance of 20%, as well as their Death Blow ability. So whenever their HP drops below a certain amount, they get increased armor piercing and weapon damage. They are unbreakable, of course, and they apply a debuff to the enemy that they come into contact with called the Power of the Dragonback, which is mostly useful for their slowing. They're much more able to take down faster units and to kind of keep them in combat. Very good against lords on Dragonback or something like that who seek to kind of dive in and harass you. You send in the Dragonback Slayers and they won't be able to escape. And 2 units of cannons here on this high ground, and they're going to have no shortage of targets this battle. You'll see here, also for the Empire, worth mentioning, he has 2 Outriders with grenade launchers, Vanguard deployed, and hidden in the forest here. So one even almost behind the enemy lines, which is excellent. The Sunmaker here is going to be doing devastating work to these Eternal Guards, to these Tomb Guard. So the Wood Elf player went with an interesting build. He has some Dryads Vanguard deployed in the center here, perhaps just to buy themselves some time to make their artillery work. 2 Waystalkers who do have, it looks like they have, one of them, let's see, we're going to need to get in on this. One of them has the Eye of Kurnos, so a buff for 10% missile damage and an aura around him. And they also have the Arrow of Kurnos. So I think I incorrectly referred to this in one of my older videos as the Prey of Anath Rama, which is of course the net ability. But this is the Arrow of Kurnos, so they each have that. And it does huge armor piercing damage at an incredible range. And they're going to be great at picking apart the Sunmaker. With each arrow, their piercing values are very high. And just tons of Eternal Guard without shields. Very cheap. The Wardens of Sithril, the Regiment of Renowned Wildwood Rangers, but these guys are an anti-large armor-piercing variant who also has an ability here, which is the Guardians of the Wildwood. So bonus versus large and charge defense versus large when they are in a forest. And the War Dancers with the Azrai Spears. Let's slow it down a little bit so we don't miss all of the crazy artillery action, because there's so much of it in this game. The War Dancers with Azrai Spears, for those of you who aren't aware, they are very quick moving, 46 speed, having anti-large units. 20% physical resistance is excellent, and they're immune to psychology, as well as having the ability Woven Mist. So it's an activatable ability. Let's say they're running into combat under a hail of arrow fire. You would pop this ability, give them 44% missile damage resistance at the cost of melee defense. So you want to use this, you really want to time it well so you don't end up killing them. But it can reduce a ton of damage on them if timed correctly. So for the Tomb Kings player, a ton of Tomb Guard in the front line, very solid. They are the standard shielded variant, and 2 Skeleton Spearmen that were here protecting the Casket of Souls. So the Casket of Souls is an artillery piece for the Tomb Kings, magic damage, huge missile damage as well, and Grand Hierophant Khatep as the Lord, completely stripped down, no abilities, just going to be used as a mobile artillery piece. And worth mentioning as well, of course, the Ancient Treeman for the Wood Elves. And that's going to be a Caster Lord, who's also not bad in melee thanks to his giant size and huge weapon strength. But he took quite a few of the abilities. He's going to be mostly a healer this battle, using Earthblood paired with the Life Bloom passive to give regen to the entire army. Now, also very simple to go over is certainly the Dreadfleet army here, because they basically just went for Count Noctilus again with a few of his abilities. Going to be able to summon some deckhand mobs, as well as using its Wraith Storm ability here. And they're both the Necrofex Colossi. You'll see two of them. They both have a passive ability that allows them to summon deckhand mobs if they drop below 50% HP. So they're mobile artillery, very good. Hopefully the Dwarven cannons can look to shut them down. And then two more units of deck gunners. So mid-ranged armor-piercing units, 245 range, not bad. They do ignore shields. So if these guys start shooting at, let's say, Longbeards, they're going to generate a lot of value. So mortars here. Mortars is just a very cheap anti-infantry option. I like it. And a unit that we don't get to see very often, but a Rotting Leviathan. So 150 armor. Good armor piercing damage, but also not very high weapon strength for how large this unit is. But it is more of a tanky unit with a great HP pool, great armor values, and just solid stats all around. So man, that was a long introduction. Sorry if that was boring to some of you guys, but let's go ahead and get into it and watch the Sunmaker, watch the Hellstorm rocket battery start to do its work. And what I'm going to be looking to do pretty quickly is get into that back line. I'm waiting for them to abandon their front line. There's an arrow of Kurnos, and they're going to be trying to snipe out the General of the Empire. Interesting choice. We don't have any healing, so that could potentially be a good option. He does have silver shields, so he's going to be somewhat resistant to the Waystalker's damage there. The Necrofex Colossi is going to be trading shots with the cannons, and the cannons will win that, hands down. Too slow of a target. The Outriders with grenade launchers are hitting this wonderfully clumped up group of Tomb Guard and War Dancers. The War Dancers, if the player is not paying attention, the Empire player doesn't have these guys on skirmish mode, they could certainly intercept, and I think he's trying to intercept my skirmishers. I wouldn't call them skirmishers, my light cav, my Moon Howlers, and my Goblin Big Boss, but we're going to run them up and around, and we're going to seek to shut down the mortar, seek to shut down the Casket of Souls. If I was the Tomb King's player, I almost certainly would have kept my Spearmen in reserve to protect our artillery. The Reichsguard and the Empire Knights are going to be getting in here and trying to stop up the centerline engagement. The Sunmaker is still online, only two of its artillery pieces are intact. And I'm going to be looking to move forward here now with my infantry as well. And at a certain point, we're going to pop the wall once I see we're all kind of engaging at once. And we're going to get those bonuses. And I managed to sneak my guys up and around. And I think we're going to get into these mortars here. And my Forest Goblin Spider Riders, I put them into melee attack mode. And we're shutting down the Casket of Souls. Tomb King's player is not really engaging yet. The Wood Elf player is somewhat engaging alone. And I have some very high tier infantry units in the Black Orcs. So these Eternal Guards came in and they're just going to get mulched by the Black Orcs. I don't want to engage them. They might be the highest cost infantry unit on the battlefield. I don't want to engage them until it's safe. So my archers are engaging these Eternal Guard who do not have shields, remember. So even a low tier Goblin Archer unit can do quite a bit of damage to them. Now the Crab managed to get back here. The Rotting Leviathan got back here and did some good damage to the Moon Howlers, forcing me to kind of run away. Also did good damage to the Spider Riders, but mostly it's his terror effect that is doing a lot of the work. You see the Necrofex Colossi went down, no doubt, to the excellent damage from the cannons. Cannons are going to be brutal this game. And these trees are really obstructing a lot of the line of sight for some of the enemy artillery pieces, wanting to shoot into these large blobs. Let's take a little slow-mo here as we watch Longbeards engage with Tomb Guard. And they're going to be hacking each other up. Fire going off in the background, some artillery barrages coming off from the Casket of Souls. And the Wood Elves are getting healed. And you'll see here also Flesh to Stone, so plus 60 armor on these very expensive Wardens of Sithwell. And with their armor piercing, even though they are an anti-large unit, they should do a lot of damage to the dwarves. The Rangers with great weapons were committed to melee. Must have been a bit of an accident there. They still have full ammunition. Some War Dancers have gotten into the Iron Drakes. That's kind of horrible for those guys. Hopefully the Dragonback Slayers will take them down. They will win in a one-on-one engagement, but neither one of these units are fighting the targets that they want to be fighting. The Dryads are engaged with the Reichsguard. The Reichsguard will take that fight 100% of the time. They are heavily armored, made to crush infantry. And some of our units have routed, and we will be rallying them. Grimgor has not been committed to the fight yet. My allies are using their artillery and doing a good job at sniping down the high-value targets. Anything that can even think about contesting a unit as powerful as Grimgor in melee. Getting that out of the way first, and then just leaving Grimgor uncontested on the battlefield was kind of my thought there in holding him back. The Longbeards are going to be excellent in a grinding fight against the Tomb Kings, who also have Tomb Guard, which are also excellent in that very fight. Count Noctilus here, without a ton of kills, he's shooting into these trees, which might be obstructing some of his fire. And after rallying my units, I've managed to get once again back into this back line. Goblin Big Boss, Moonhowlers, and we're shutting down these Caskets of Souls. There's actually 2 Caskets of Souls in addition to Grand Hierophant Khatep, so I seem to have missed one in my going over the army there. And the Waz going off because the boys are getting into battle. Oh, that's a bit of a toss around there. Night Goblin Fanatics helping out the Dwarves. Very unlawful battle there, but the Black Orcs have surrounded the Rotting Leviathan, and they're going to be looking to take it down. They're not meant to fight that kind of enemy, but their armor piercing is going to help them quite easily take down the Rotting Leviathan, who just doesn't have the DPS necessary to chew through that many Black Orcs. Despite him, you'll see there his animation, he actually ate one. These Ushapti Greatbow, or Ushapti rather, have been summoned, the 3rd tier for the Realm of Souls, and they managed to completely decimate my Moonhowlers. But the Black Orcs are going to be getting back there, and Black Orcs can do quite a number against Ushapti. Ushapti are also, though, meant to fight units like Black Orcs, so it's going to be a very atrocious trade. And with all of our ranged units finally separated, we're going to be firing into the Rotting Leviathan and forcing it to crumble and taking it down. The Reichsguard and Empire Knights are holding back these 2 Waystalkers who still have half of their ammunition, so they weren't able to get full efficiency from them. The Outriders here with 114 kills just parked right in the front lines and taking shots at Tomb Kings, Tomb Guard infantry, and they're just decimating them. Count Noctilus, still in the fight, summoning units, has used most of its ammunition at this point, 57 kills, kind of standing behind this tree, luckily for him. One of the cannons is forcing this unit off the battlefield, while the other cannon looked to have been firing at Count Noctilus, but unfortunately hitting the trees. And we got a little bit of roasting action here from the Iron Drakes, finally free from the Azrai Spears, thanks to those Dragonback Slayers. And it looks like the Tomb Kings have crumbled. Count Noctilus, the Leviathan is still fighting. 53 kills here, a lot of that being my archers and Black Orcs. And giving him the protection of some gunnery mobs, as well as the deckhand mobs, are almost certainly what's allowing it to stay in the fight here. They're eating up a lot of the DPS from my Black Orcs. And now Grimgor has finally gotten onto a decent target at this late stage in the game. He's been in combat. 43 kills for a Footlord is pretty decent, but now he's going to be going up against Count Noctilus. Count Noctilus does not have a ton of backup, and I have the 8-feet loonies here providing that poison to debuff him, as well as holding back all of his summons so that we could get some good DPS from Grimgor there. And with Grimgor's armor piercing, not many units can stand up to that. Iron Drake's going to be roasting the remainder of these summon units. So I think that's all she wrote, guys. Very good teamwork on both sides. I really like the builds on both sides. Unfortunately for our opponents, despite going a very artillery heavy build, we had enough artillery ourselves to force them to engage us. And their build was certainly not situated in such a way that they could move all of their slow moving Tomb Guard units and hope to, you know, win that frontline engagement. Look at the army breakdowns. The one I'm most interested in seeing here, ridiculous name, is the dwarf player. So the Longbeards might have been MVPs this battle. They were an excellent front line for us. They took a ton of damage. You'll see here they all had very low HP, but were still fighting up until the end. Perhaps a bit of mis-microing there from the Rangers with great weapons. And the Iron Drakes were, while a very fun pick, were not able to get their value, but the Dragonback Slayers handled those Azrai War Dancers. These are the anti-large variant. Had these been the standard variant, they might have had a much better chance against the Dragonback Slayers. But I guess they got some value in shutting down the Iron Drakes. The cannons were focused very accurately on many of the large targets this battle, and I thought they did great. The mortars I was able to shut down almost instantly this game thanks to my skirmishers. So you see here the Moonhowlers, 0 kills, but that's because they were wrapped around Grand Hierophant Katep, shutting him down early. The Goblin Spider Riders did a ton of work just in the background, shutting down artillery. And the Black Orcs were our heavy hitters late into the late game, keeping them alive. Had this been an even more atrocious battle, you know, I had a solid core of Black Orcs, and as well as Grimgor, still in the battle, and standing back to back with his Black Orcs, Grimgor is definitely a tough opponent to take down. And a good number of kills on these units. Something as simple as keeping the Skeleton Spearmen in reserve throughout the course of this battle, stacking his artillery on top of them even, would have completely shut down my my very mobile light cav play this game, and I would have been forced to completely reconsider what to do with these units. I probably would have kept them near the front line, maybe use the Wolf Riders to intercept units that were looking to take out our artillery pieces, while keeping the Spider Riders on the flanks perhaps to harass. And let's check out the Empire player. Unfortunately, the General of the Empire, no doubt he went down to the ranged power of Yuri Gagarin's double Waystalkers. Pretty brutal tactics with the arrows of Kurnos. And I think it used to be unlimited charges of that ability back in the day, but now I think they're limited to 3. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but the range is huge and they're pretty accurate. So sniping down a large target like the General of the Empire on a boarded war steed was pretty smart play from them. Also, the triple Hellstorm rocket batteries, you'll see here, very even kills. So it almost makes you wonder whether or not the extra gold for the Regiment of Renown version was necessary. But if you've ever seen them side by side, the Sunmaker will shoot off its entire ammo load before the standard variant shoots off half of theirs. So it's good in a way that it has overwhelming fire. And sometimes if you're counting on your enemies being able to get into your back lines and shut down your artillery, or having artillery of their own to counter skirmish you, it's much better value to get off as much ammunition as you can before the front lines clash, so to speak. So in that way, the Sunmaker nearly always gets its value, and you'll notice that it was focused heavily from the beginning of the game. Reichsguard did great, and this one unit of grenade launchers was microed very well throughout the entire battle and was able to shut down a lot of units. And I wanted to hand it to this guy, Alucard here, for making great use of these units. I don't see them a ton. Let's say you do quick battles or something like that. They're very hard units to make work if you don't have the micro to use them. You'll find yourself getting something like 12 kills on a unit, and they just were not cost effective. But every battle that he brought these guys, he did great. So alright guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, this battle. I've got more coming for you, so don't worry. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit the thumbs up button. Those are all YouTubery things that help me out a lot. And I do notice that I am still getting a small trickle of subscribers, and when you do subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know which videos you're watching and what I could do better, or what I'm already doing good perhaps. and that'll help me out in the future and kind of give me a better idea of what you guys enjoy and what you don't enjoy, and that'll help me, kind of focus my content to that. So without any further ado, guys, thank you again for watching. My name has been Brett. My channel is Good Talk Gaming, and I hope you have a good day, because I will see you in the next one.